Okay, so we stopped on the demo part of NAT, right? So we'll start from that. Okay, let me give you the scenario for what we have. One by one, we will do the NAT. So I have a gateway, then it is connected to my internal network, which is in the IP segment of 10.1.50.0/24. This is my internal segment connected to my internal interface, and in turn it is connected to the internet as well. Okay, so what I'm trying to say, I would like to allow my internal network to access the internet. So they are in the private IP segment. So what I would like to do is, when the traffic is being received by the gateway on the internal interface and then trying to forward the traffic out via the external interface, it has to do the translation. So the source address is what going to be translated. Whatever the IP address is seen in the source address field, it is going to be translated to the egress interface IP address of my gateway. So it could be anything. So it could be any IP address. Because I have a DSL connection, I'm getting an IP address dynamically from my service provider. The IP address on the external interface could be anything, using which the translation could be possible. But in my scenario, what I have is, after this gateway, I have my DSL router. This is where I have my DSL router. Okay, the DSL router has they are in the IP segment of 192.168.4.0/24. My gateway side, I have an IP address of .140. On the DSL router's internal side, I have an IP address of .0. So the DSL router has an IP address on the external interface given by my service provider, which is dynamic. That could be anything. So what I'm trying to do it on the gateway, whenever the traffic is being received from the internal network, which is in 10.1.50.0, I would like to translate with the egress interface IP address, and which is of type source NAT, unidirectional network address translation. This is what first I'm just going to be demonstrating you. Okay, so I have an object. Do I have an object for the internal network? Yes. So I'm just going to create my internal network 10.1. Internal 10.1.50.0. That is the name of my internal network object. The actual IP address is 10.1.50.0. Mask is 255.255.255.0. While I'm creating this object, I also have an option of doing the translation. Let's say this. When I say this add automatic address translation rules, it will be creating the NAT rules automatically on the NAT section. And what type of NAT I'm going to be performing is the hide mode NAT. Hide mode NAT, I already told you, it is going to be my PAT. So when I say hide mode NAT, what IP address I'll be using for the translation? It could be the egress interface IP address when I have selected the option as hide behind gateway. So whatever the IP address assigned on the egress interface, on which interface the packet is going to be forwarded out, whatever the IP address has been configured on that interface, which will be used for the translation. So what I'm saying, okay, automatically it creates the NAT rule. You can see this one. Okay, yesterday I have created all these things. Now let me do one thing. Let me clear all those. As we have the policy section where we will be able to create the rules for allowing or denying the traffic, we also have the NAT section where we can create the rules with which the translation could be performed. Right? So when it comes to the NAT rules, you can populate the NAT rule table either by automatically creating the rules, or you can also create the rules manually as an administrator. Both is possible. So two types of NAT. Yesterday we had this discussion. One is automatic NAT, the other one is manual NAT. Automatic NAT is also often known as what? Object NAT. Since the translation is going to be performed on top of an object, so we call that as an object NAT as well. So as I start doing the NAT configuration on the object, the NAT rules are going to be created automatically here in this section. So because of that, we call that type of NAT rules as what? Automatic NAT rules. So as I explained, the first type of NAT what we are going to be doing is, source net, we have an object created internal 10.1.50.0. This is the object. We are identifying 10.1.50.0 with a mask of 255.255.255.0. Where I would like to go and do the translation is what? Add automatic address NAT translation rules, hide mode NAT, and hide behind gateway. When I say hide mode NAT, I'm trying to do the path, and what is the IP address is going to be used? The egress interface IP address of the gateway. Automatically the NAT rules are being created, right? So all I have to do is I just need to save this, and then I just need to install the policy so that when the packets are going out, it will be taking the egress interface IP address. We can cross check that one, right? So the policy installation is done. So I'm opening up Smart View Tracker, and then I'm going to generate some traffic from the internal network so that I can see whether the packets are getting translated or not. Okay, my tracker is ready. Traffic is going on. You can see that one. Okay, let's open up the browser. As the traffic is forwarded through the firewall, you can see the traffics are being permitted. So I'm just checking out first of all the domain UDP section, because that is what the first packet it would have been generated. So it is trying to resolve the facebook.com domain name into an IP address. You can see as the packets are going out, it would be translated with the egress interface IP address. You can see this one, what IP address it is getting translated. The translated source is 192.160.4.140. The source port is also being translated. The source port what has been generated by the actual client is 1080, but it is getting translated to 10,003. When it comes to the path, checkpoint always translates the port starting from 10,000 onwards, right? So let's try to do the translation with a different IP address. So what is the problem in doing the hide behind gateway? People whomever receives this packet, they will be aware of the external interface IP address. I don't want to reveal the external interface IP address with everyone. So what I would like to do, instead of doing the NAT like hide behind gateway, I would like to do the translation with a different IP address altogether. If you go and say, so 192.168.4.141, that's the IP address I would like to be using for the translations. So save and then install the policy, then check it out. Now when the traffic is going out, it will be translated with an IP address of 192.168.4.141. Okay, the installation succeeded. Now let me try to go with mail.google.com. Right. I'm trying to log into my email. It would have generated some traffic. Let's see what IP address it has been translated to. As of our understanding, it should be translated to 192.168.4.141. That's the IP address it should be translated to. Can you see this one? So the IP address got translated to 192.168.4.141. The source port number of 1078 got translated to 52252. Okay, so this is what we normally call it as what? Hide mode NAT. When you do hide mode NAT, you have the choice of hide behind gateway or hide behind IP address. Now, let's talk about our scenario. I have my gateway, internal interface as well as external interface. Now, I also have my server. I have my web server which is hosted on 172.16.10.10. 0 segment. It is 10.10. So let me change the IP address of my web server. I have the choice of changing the IP address of my DMZ interface on gateway, or I can change the IP address of my, probably, I'm not very sure. So 1.10, it should be 10.1.1. Okay, now I just need to check it out. What is the IP address configured? You can see now, so the IP address is taken now, 172.16.1.10. So let's come back to the diagram. I have a web server which has an IP address of 172.16.1.10/24, which is connected. So the IP address of the web server is 172.16.1.10/24, which is connected to an interface on gateway, which has an IP address of 172.16.1.1. So this is the IP address I have configured it. So I would like to access this web server from the external world. So what do? I just need to go for a static NAT. I explained you the problem with static NAT yesterday. What is that? Static NAT is always bidirectional. Let me show you first of all how you do the static NAT using an object NAT. And if you'd like to take control of it, you can also do unidirectional destination NAT. That can be done using the manual NAT option. Okay, so I have a web server which has an IP address of 172.16.1.10, which is connected to one of the interface on the gateway, which has an IP address of 172.16.1.1. Let me check the connectivity first of all. From my gateway, I'm trying to reach my web server. Yes, it is reachable. So I just ensured that the web server is reachable. Now I'm just going to be performing the translation. Let's go and check it out. I have a web server node. You can check it out. The IP address configured is as what? 172.16.1.10. Now I'm just going to give an IP address which is used for the translation. Add automatic address translation rules. It is going to be of type static. So what IP address we can use it for translation? Let's have an IP address for the translation that could, which is going to be translated or mapped to 192.168.40.140. Right? So this is what the translation I'll be doing it. So since it is a static NAT, I'm just making it as what? It's a bidirectional NAT on both the direction. If the traffic is given to 192.160.40.140, it gets translated to 172.16.1.10. Similarly, if the traffic is coming from 172.16.1.10, which will be translated to 192.160.40.140. In either way, in either direction, the request could be initiated. So I'm just going to be doing this translation 192.168.40.140. Okay. So I have the NAT configuration. I'm cross-checking whether I have a policy to permit the traffic or not. So you go to the policy. You can check it out. Source is any, destination is my web server, HTTP traffic is accepted as well as logged. So I just need to save it, and then I'm just going to be installing this policy. Let's check it out if the policy has been installed or not. Yes, the policy has been installed. Now the NAT rules, whatever the changes we have done, and the policy, everything is ready. Now I just need to check it out, whether the static NAT is happening or not. How do I check it out? I have this setup. I'm just going to be taking a PC which is connected to the external interface. This is where I have my PC, and this is connected here, which is having an IP address of 192.168.4.199, right? So this PC has a default gateway pointing to 192.168.4.1, which is nothing but my DSL router, and this is the PC we are connected also. Right, so I would like to access 40.140. What this PC will do, it will be using the default gateway and then it will be forwarding the traffic to DSL router. I don't want that to happen. So I'm just going to give the instruction to the PC that if you would like to send the traffic to 192.168.40.0 network, forward the traffic to 192.168.4.140. That's what I just need to tell. So I'm just getting into my command prompt and adding a route at what? So route add 192.168.40.0 with a mask of 255.255.255.0, forward the traffic to 192.168.4.140. This is what I'm trying to do. So if I change the default gateway of my PC, then what will happen? We will be losing our connectivity. So that's the reason I'm adding a static route on the PC so that the traffic could be forwarded to 192.168.4.140 if it is meant for 192.168.40.0. So once this route is added, I'm just trying to open up my browser and then trying to access 192.168.40.140. Trying to access 40.140. 192.168.40.192.168.40.140. Let's see whether it is happening or not. Yep. See here. Now it's working. So I try to access 192.168.40.140. You can see my machine's IP address is in 192.168.4.203. It is not in the same IP segment. It is going to, I can also show you the log on my firewall. You can see that it should be coming from 203. Can you see this? The traffic is coming from 203. Packet is coming to which IP address? 40.140. Can you see this one? So the request is coming from 4.203 and it is going to 40.140. When I double click that, you can see the IP address is getting translated to what? 172.16.1.10. Right, but anyway, if I'm trying to do something else, say for example, if I'm going to generate some traffic from my, what is it called, my web server, I try to generate some traffic from my web server, say for example, ping 4.2, whatever it might be. Traffic may not go. Okay, do I have a rule to permit the traffic? Okay, so I said anywhere to web server the traffic is allowed. Now web server to, I'm just trying to write, copy the rule and then I'm trying to paste the rule below. Now this is going to be my web server and this is going to be any, and this is also going to be any. Assume that I have a rule like this. Okay, now I have this rule. Then I'm trying to access, but still the same thing will come. But anyway, I need to have a packet. I can see the logs now. I should see some logs. 172.16. Can you see this one? This is the web server traffic. Going to 4.2.2.2. Ping packet is going on. When the packet is going on, the traffic is coming from 172.16.1.10, going to 4.2.2.2. The traffic is getting translated. Okay, so the source is web server. Let's see the address is getting translated or not. It is not. Okay, I'll do one more thing. I'll go to the host machine, the other host machine. Where is that? Host 1A. Let me try to start an FTP server on that. Okay, let me start this FTP server and then try to go there. Yep. See, the traffic is going to 220. You're seeing that 3C daemon service is running over there. Let's go and check it out on the host 1 machine. Now the traffic is going from here to there. Can you see this one? 40.140. The source is getting translated to 40.140. See, by doing the static NAT, what is that we are trying to achieve? We are trying to achieve the bidirectional. That's the point I'm trying to make it out here. If the request is going to be initiated from that web server, still it will be translated with the source IP address of the same. See what I'm trying to mean. So I have a mapped IP of what? I have a mapped IP 172.16.1.10 has been mapped to 192.168.40.140, which means that if the request is being initiated from the external world given to 192.168.40.140, then it will be performing the destination NAT. Similarly, if the request is going to be initiated from 172.16.1.10, which is going to anywhere, it gets still translated to 192.168.40.140. That's the point I'm trying to make it out here. So unless it is really required, don't ever go for the static NAT. Static NAT is always bidirectional. Then how do I avoid it? So when you are taking the help of this object NAT, you cannot avoid it. It is going to be bidirectional NAT. So then what do? So I just need to take the help of manual NAT. Instead of doing the automatic NAT, I'm just planning to do something called as what? An automatic NAT. So what is that I'm going to be doing it? Let me go there, go to the web server and then take this out. Once you have taken this, you can see the NAT would have been removed. The NAT rule would have been removed automatically. So I would like to do the manual NAT. How do I do it? First of all, I just need to have both the objects here. I need to have both the objects. One is the actual real IP address of the server, and I would like to have one more IP address. What is that? 192.168.40.140, or whatever the IP address you would like to go for it, 149. So I have two different machines here. One is the web server, the other one is pub IP. So what is that I would like to do? So I know that I am going to create a rule, and since I'm going to be creating a static NAT, so it is always better to keep it on top of the rule base. So you have two sections. Yesterday we have seen the original packet, which will help you to identify the packet for the translation, whereas the translated packet section will help you to do the translation. So what I'm trying to say, so if the original packet's detail, the source could be anything, and the destination is going to be my public IP address, correct? So somebody is trying to send the traffic to public IP, the service could be anything, and you just need to translate the destination alone with the real IP address. Can you see automatically it gets S? S means what? Static NAT. H means what? Hide mode NAT. So I have created a rule. The source could be anything. Destination is going to be my public IP address. The service could also be anything. So what I'm trying to do, I'm not at all doing anything on the source IP address. Let it be the same. Whatever the IP address you have seen on the source address, let it be the same. But the destination IP address alone, you just need to translate to 172.16.1.10. Is that clear? This alone is not enough. This alone is not enough. So I told you that the manual NAT is little bit complex to configure, right? Now let's say that. Okay, I just need to save it. I also need to have a policy to permit the traffic. Sorry. Where is my rule? Right? So I just need to install the policy. But before doing that one, I just want to explain you something. Okay, so this is the gateway, right? Now what we have done, we have taken this out. This is not there. This portion is not there. Instead of that, we have taken a different IP address altogether, which is 192.168.40.149. Right? So that's the IP address I'm doing it. Now the problem is the traffic is coming from internet and it is hitting the DSL router. Now the DSL router would be knowing the route to reach 40.149 would be my 192.168.4.140. That must be there. But the point is, when it is asking for the MAC address of 40.149, my gateway has to share its external interface MAC address, correct? It wouldn't be happening. When I'm doing automatic NAT or object NAT, that will be taken care. If I'm planning to do the manual NAT, this proxy ARP functionality is not going to be there. That you have to manually configure it. So what is that I have to do? I'm just going to my host machine and then trying to open up the gateways Gaia 190 https://10.1.50.1. That's the IP address of my gateway. I'm logging into the gateways Gaia operating system. I'm just going to enable the proxy ARP for the IP address what I have configured. So the proxy ARP related configuration is done at the OS level. Okay, you go to the ARP section, and then say that proxy ARP functionality needs to be done for which IP address? For 192.168.4.149. I'm saying that share the interface of Ethernet 1. That's external interface, right? Or you can also give the MAC address. It is 40.149. Not 40.140, it is 40.149. You can check it out. The public IP has 40.149. This is the IP address. So I'm giving the instructions to the gateway. If you're receiving the APP request to at 40.149, you shall share your MAC address which is associated to Ethernet 1 interface. Or if you'd like to feed the MAC address specifically, yes, that is also possible. What MAC address you would like to give? So this has been done. So I have done the proxy app configuration on the OS level. But anyway, Checkpoint is not aware of it. You have done the manual NAT configuration to allow the proxy app. You got into the Gaia operating system and you have passed the instructions to it. Now the Checkpoint has to synchronize that information from Gaia. That you have to do it. How do you do that one? I'm going to the global properties, getting into the NAT. Can you see something called here? Merge manual proxy app configuration. So I'm just checking this one. So the manual proxy app configuration has been done on the Gaia level. So I'm asking the Checkpoint to synchronize that. So say OK and then say save and then say install the policy. Yes, that's the interface. You can check that out if you want. Is that Ethernet 1 or Ethernet 2? Ethernet 2 is the interface we have connected to the server. So Ethernet 1 is the interface which is connected to the DSL router. Exactly. If you do the automatic static NAT, then obviously if you have a rule, that is also a case. It is not that always the traffic will be permitted. Assuming that you have a rule to permit the traffic, then automatically the source address gets translated. So to restrict that one, we'll be taking the help of manual NAT. Manual NAT is more granular. Okay, now we have done. Let's try to access it from going to be 4.149. Now can you see this one? Now you got it. The page got been loaded. And to confirm that one, I can also go to the host 1 machine, check, what is that called? Let me clear the filter. Go to the bottom and then check it out whether the traffic is being received for 149 or not. Can you see this one? 192.168.4.203 is sending the request to pub IP. Pub IP is nothing but my public IP. So the request is being given to 192.168.40.149. In turn, it is getting translated to 172.16.1.10. Is that clear? Okay, so it is also possible, say for example, I would like to do the port redirection. So everybody knows that the web server is going to be running on port 80. So what I would like to do, I would like to go and say, instead of to the specific IP address like any of the services, I can go and say, let me copy this rule and then paste this rule above. So the same condition is going to be the same. Now I'm going to be saying what? I could go and say the service is going to be like, is there? The proxy. Okay, let me create my own port object, TCP, redirect HTTP, that's the name. Port number, let me call it as 8888. That's the port number I'm going to be using it. Already port number is there. Then let's give it as 9999. Okay, so that's the port number I'm going to be using it. Say for example, if the traffic is given to public IP on redirect HTTP port number, that means 9999, I could also still translate the traffic to web server. The port number is going to be my HTTP. This is also possible. When you take the help of manual NAT, you can do many things. So using a single IP address, multiple servers needs to be identified? Yes, that is possible. You would like to do the port redirection? Yes, that is possible. Let's say that you have two web servers. This is on 172.16.1.20. Right? This is also the same HTTP service is running. This is also a web server. Web server 2. Let's say that this is my web server 1. You have only one public IP, which is 40.149. I would like to access both the servers from the internet. So my question is, you have two web servers, but you have only one public IP address, and you would like to access both the servers from the internet. What do? Right? So if the request is being given to the same IP for a different port number, I could translate that to a web server too. The example what I am showing you is the same web server. If you want, you can have a different web server altogether. Okay, clone it and then call this as web server 2, and this is going to be what? 420. Instead of this web server, I'm just going to call the web server 2. That's it. So what the users have to do, they have to send the request to the public IP on the specific port number. So when they try to send the request, it is not that only simply 40.149, they also need to send the request to, they need to mention this port number also. That's what they have to do. If not, it will not work. Right? This is what you need to understand on NAT part. So can you see this one? I'm not able to access the web server. You can check that out on the logs part so that it will help you. You can check whether the traffic is coming to this one. This is the pub IP. Can you see the port number of 9999? The traffic is coming. The request is being given to 40.149 and port number 9999, but it is not getting translated. That is because I don't have that IP address at all. Do I have that IP address? That is my point number one. The second point, do I have a policy to permit the traffic for web server? The pub IP is allowed. Any traffic is allowed, but I have allowed only the HTTP. I have not allowed port 9999. I just need to allow the port 9999, right? Even if I allow it, I wouldn't be able to access it because 172.16.1.20 is not live. So your tracker helps you to identify what are all the problems that you are facing.